Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy JC, and I'm finally doing it. Y'all, I'm finally doing my very first tips and tricks video. I'm trying to do a lot more. I've been wanting to do this for a couple years now. I've been slow, but I'm cracking on it, alright? So, I wanted to figure out the best way to do these tips and tricks videos, and I feel like the best way to do it is kind of like a journey, right? So, we're gonna do a bunch of parts, and I'm gonna spread out this in multiple videos. I feel like it's the best way to do this. But what we're gonna start on is actually what I wish I knew, switching from Xbox to PC or even PS4 to PC, just pretty much console to PC. Like the things that I wish I knew that I had in my arsenal to help me grow faster, right? Because I wish I had somebody to sit here and tell me these things. Because when I switched, I had one friend that switched with me, but he didn't play as much because he had a lot of IRL things going on. So I was teaching myself everything. And I hope that this can help new players switching from console to PC because this is directly targeted to the console to PC switchers. I hope that this will really help you guys. Alright, so getting started. The very first thing I wish I knew would be what's about DPI, right? So DPI has to do with your mouse, right? It's the setting for your mouse to show the speed of your mouse in and out of game, right? I did not know what this was, and I actually have a funny story. If you guys come into my stream or whatever and you want to know the DPI story, let me know, and I'll tell you the DPI story on Twitch. But right now, I kind of want to like jump through all this, so then that way, if you guys have any more comments, you guys want me to elaborate on stuff, then you just put it in the comment section below. All right. So also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the bell and like, and then also comment. Tell me what you want me to put more of. So, DPI. DPI is the setting onto your mouse. I did not know this when I had switched. I didn't know that that was a thing. I was playing on like 1200 DPI when I started, right? So there's actually a button on your mouse too. It'll either be located on next to your mouse wheel or below your mouse, which is what I have seen. If there's another one, you could let me know and I could put it in there. But at the top by the back of the mouse wheel, or at the bottom, kind of located on the opposite side of your switch or whatever to turn it on if you have a wireless, like I do. So DPI. So if you have a mouse that you bought, a gaming mouse, because I would recommend obviously a gaming mouse for gaming, you're gonna have to download a software to upload or to like mess with the LED lights if you have them on, which I do, or anything else with the mouse. So in this case, I have a Logitech G Pro. Highly recommend this mouse to anybody who's trying to switch over. There are known to have some faulty parts. I got a good one. I haven't had any problems with it, except if there's a dog hair because I have a husky that sheds a lot. So I have Logitech. So I had to download what's called the Logitech G Hub, right? Download that, and you can also see as well as I have the Pro X keyboard. I highly recommend that as well. It's a linear keyboard with red switches. I also interchanged the switches or the keycaps. Sorry, I changed the keycaps to a custom keycap that I had found online, and it works perfectly. I love it. Very good keyboard if you want to like mess around with it. Play with it. So it's also a smaller keyboard size, which makes more room for your mouse space, which is something I wish I kind of knew before I had switched. So there's extra. I'll get into that in a different video about like the peripheral part. So we'll just stick on to like this side. So over here, you can see that this is just for your logo, for my logo. Anyways, this is just the speed and the brightness, how bright that I want it. Right. Well, this is the logo part. Okay. So skipping on, you could put assignments or what they call like some kind of a macro, not like a macro in game where you make your recoil different. These are just like shortcuts, pretty much, right? Or you could change the key binds, I guess, what you could also say too. Or change the key binds for what they actually mean, if that's what you wanted to do. But here, this is where you would find your sensitivity DPI. It could be different if you're a Corsair mouse, a Razer mouse, but they're all pretty easy to find. There's guides even to help you find them. So you'll see that you have 5 settings that you can switch it to. So if I click on the button, it'll go to on my mouse, it'll go to the 5 settings. right? But I want to stay on 450 DPI. I could get more into my 400 DPI just a little bit here and why I use it, but these are the settings. So if you are mainly an ARM player, 450 or 400 DPI is probably your go-to. If you are an ARM player but you like some more speed or however, 800 is another good choice. Most people use 400 as a pro to use more ARM, but 800 is just fine. If you're a Risk player, you could use 800, but you could also use 1200 and 1600. I don't really know a lot of people who go higher than that, especially great players. I haven't really heard of that, but usually most like Shiko players that use strictly wrist type stuff, they play on a higher DPI. So the higher that you go is the faster that your mouse will become. The lower that you go, the slower. And a lot of people like slower because they like the more precision and they're fine using their arm. To find out which one that you are, you just honestly you just gotta just try it. Try the wrist, see if you like it. If you don't, try the 400. I would recommend starting lower and then working up higher. So try the 400 DPI and then go up. I use 450 DPI. That's actually not a lot of people do. I think Shroud uses 450 DPI. I use 450 DPI for myself because moving around with 400 DPI on the desktop is really slow and it bothers the crap out of me. So that and amongst, I've never been able to find a good sensitivity in game with 400 DPI. So I strictly use 450 DPI and I love it. I haven't had any problems with it. It's my favorite. I've tried going up to 800, even 600, 500, and that's not my thing. I believe a pro player from TSM Geo, I believe he uses 500 DPI, but don't quote me on that. It's just all preference. It's whatever you want. So whatever fits right for you. Okay, so this is the DPI part. This is how to find your DPI. I can go into more detail on it if you guys want me to go into more detail. So the next thing that you need to look at is your. Here, I'll unpause this. The next thing that we want to look at is in-game sensitivity. Okay, I can go into again more detail on how I found the best sensitivity for myself, but again, I'm not like some professional pro player on the high end. So this I'll go into a video on how I best found it. Okay, so if everybody knows, obviously go to your options, controls, your in-game sensitivity. That's the horizontal and vertical, right? Your horizontal and vertical does affect your aim down sensitivity. Now, what is aim down sensitivity? So horizontal and vertical sensitivity is known as your hip fire sensitivity. Hip fire is if you play CSGO or something like that, how you don't ADS or aim in. This is ADS means aim down sights, right? So your hip fire is this. This is your sensitivity when you're moving around the map, right? And this is what works for me, right? So 7 works for me. This is completely fine. I can do a 360. Usually, rule of thumb with your hip fire sensitivities, you want to make sure that you could do a sensitivity consistently, right? You want to make sure that you can do your 180s and you have plenty of mouse space room. Or like some people have it to where, their 360 is their whole mouse pad. Me, I have a lot of room. For that part, right? Some people like their aim down sights to be a 360. I don't believe in that. I don't really think when you're in a gunfight you need to completely flick around more than 180 degrees. But for some reason, a lot of people think you should be able to aim down your sights in 360. Like, that doesn't really make sense to me. So that's why my aim down sights is so low. I cannot do a 360 with it. I could do a 180 plus like 45 degrees. So this is what works for me. Your aim down sights again is when you aim down. This is my sensitivity, right? So I have it set up where my sensitivity is more catered to somebody who likes arm, but I like to use my wrist. So anything for 45 degrees, that's my wrist. It might be a little bit of arm if I'm flicking, right? But it mainly feels like wrist to me. This is my wrist movement, no arm. And then this is my finger movement. So if I want to like do micro movements, which is a very big thing that you want to make sure you're able to do consistently, is micro movements. So another way to find your sensitivity is to aim at something and move around, right? You want to try to stay on that My arm is hurting today, so it's obviously not gonna be on point. But this you want to stay on point. So you can either make it harder for yourself and go to like make a dot on the wall with your bullet, and then you could follow it. You want to be able to follow this as accurately as possible, and that's kind of like a micro movement type thing. So you want to be able to just hang on to whatever you're aiming at and be able to move with that. That's what you want to have in your sensitivity. If you catch yourself like going off like this, then that's telling you that you're either not used to your sensitivity or that you need to change something. I would recommend trying your sensitivity for a week straight, not 2 days, because what'll happen that a lot of people don't know is you go through a honeymoon phase with your sensitivity or your settings or your FOV or whatever it is. You go through a what is called a honeymoon phase, which is where you feel like you're killing everything in its path and you're slamming kids, and this is the sensitivity for you. And then 3 days later, 4 days later, you start to plateau and go back to where you were before, and you're like, what the hell? And then you're changing your sense again. That's called like a honeymoon phase, so you don't want to do that. So that's that on sensitivity. If I need to get more on it, I could get more onto it. You guys let me know in the comment section. Hand grip. I do not have a face cam, hand cam, so I will be a little brief about it. There's a bunch of different ways to do your hand grip. There's people who like to kind of claw their mouse, which is they're holding it at the fingertips, and they're kind of all fingertips, and they're holding it like that. Usually people do that who have a smaller mouse and their hand is bigger, or people just like that because it's comfortable. Again, it is all preference. Me, I prefer to have the back of my palm where my logo is, and I hold that firmly with my thumb and my pinky, and then everything else is free using the thumb wheel, the mouse 1, mouse 2. So that's how I do. I also have side buttons that my thumb clicks to whenever I'm moving around, and my thumb buttons for anybody, this is my flashbang for, I believe mouse 4 is the top one, and then knife is mouse 5. That's just what works for me. There's a lot of people who do other things. Lean key is on their mouse 4 or 5. Like, there's a lot of different things you do. Caps, I use caps. I think Yaga does the same thing. Yaga's actually the one that gave me this idea when I was watching him play. The caps thing is amazing for me, especially when you're using C4 and stuff like that. So that's what I use, because I don't like to reach to G, especially with how I hold. But I could get into high positioning of mouse and peripherals and stuff like that in a separate video. The next thing that we should get into is mouse acceleration. This is one thing that I wish I knew when I was playing. So when I switched, because I had no idea what a mouse acceleration was either. You might know because of your job or something else. But how to find your mouse acceleration is you want to make sure that this is off, by the way. I don't know anybody who likes it on, but pretty much what mouse sensitivity does. Well, actually, I'll kind of explain what I did. Go down to the search menu, type in mouse if you want, and then go to additional mouse options right here next to related settings. It's going to pop up this beautiful thing right here. You're going to go to pointer options, enhance pointer precision. So what this does is if you click it on and you hit apply, when you go to flick this way, it won't be as consistent and it'll fly more. So what it's pretty much what it's doing, mouse acceleration, is while you're consistently doing this movement here with your mouse, it'll gradually go faster, and that will mess you up in any FPS game. And I don't know anybody who doesn't like it. So make sure that this is checked marked off, hit apply, and then hit OK. And then once you hit OK, your mouse acceleration is off, and you now have what is called like a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, so another thing to smallly get into in this game, and then I'll show you guys one more thing that really helps the wired players is raw input. So raw input, a lot of people know it. I'm not really going to get into the super detail. I use raw input on because I noticed that it helps with the micro movement of my mouse when I'm moving. So that's why I have it on. I notice that when it's off, the micro movements become a little harder, so I use it on. I have noticed in a case where I was playing on a different keyboard from this one. I don't remember which one it was, but it would mess up the functions if I had this on. So I used to have it off with that keyboard, and I was always wondering why it was doing that, and it turned out to be the raw input. So like I couldn't tab to see the scoreboard, or I couldn't enter to talk or anything like that, and it was bothering me. So I left it off because it kept messing up functions. So there's that part. So the last thing that I want to get into before we wrap this up is what is a bungee? This, when I had a wired mouse, which I have a wireless G Pro, and I love it. If and that's all preference, by the way. I don't really think it really matters because I haven't had problems with this G Pro. On Amazon, for very cheap, you could go to just type in bungee mouse. Is what I do. And then you'll see right here that these things are called bungees, right? So I've heard that the BenQ Zowie bungees are the best. That's just what I've heard. I haven't actually used one, but everybody that has told me about them has said that they are a game changer and they help a lot. So if you have an annoying long cable with your mouse and you are a wired player, you hook your wire up to this, and what it does is it creates the pulling and the tugging from your while you're moving around, and it keeps your wires straight. So while you're playing, is what you do is you hook it up and you set it to so you can move around freely on your mouse pad without any tugging. So I know a lot of people, even I did. I had the mouse wrapped around the back of my table, or like pushed to the back of my table, and it would it would smack into my monitor, my PC. It would tug when I pull it up, coming from the back of the table, and it was just so annoying. So this right here is a very good buy to help you if you are a wired player. But that is it for today. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helps. This is my very first tips and tricks. I will get better as I go, I promise. I'm sorry that this is 16, almost 17 minutes long. I will try to make the next one shorter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment anything you want that you want me to do next time. I'll be taking note of that so that way I can add it into the next one. But there is going to be a part 2, probably part 4 and 5 for the what I wish I knew. If you guys want to know anything switching over, please comment below.